St Andrew's Club has opened its 150-year archive, which reveals the surprising and uplifting history of the youth movement. Victorian London was the epicentre of the Industrial Revolution, but as millions moved to the metropolis for work, many young people were forgotten as the city rapidly grew. Though they were working, many, often separated from their parents, simply couldn't afford accommodation. By the 1860s, there were tens of thousands of homeless children on the streets. Something had to be done. Residential homes and clubs were set up to help these young people. The first was St Andrew's Club, opening in 1866. It was originally a home for working boys, its founders responding to the horrifying conditions found in London's slums. The area in which the club settled after a move from Soho was the most notorious, Westminster's The Devil's Acre.
Most of the clubs were concentrated in those areas of London where there were huge concentrations of people in Bethnal Green, Whitechapel, Stepney, Hackney Wick, Bermondsey in the south of the river, West Ham further out in the east. These were all the main centres of boys' clubs in those days.
It was innovative, the idea of having a club for young people. And remember, you've only got to read Dickens at the time, where Dickens was a journalist, but he was nevertheless pointing out things which were pretty appalling. How children of a very young age were sent out to work, how they were selling matches or something on the streets. And the idea of facilities specifically dedicated to children was a novel one. And all credit to those original founders for having said that the young deserved time to play as well as to learn, and this could be done outside school as well as in school, and the two would complement each other.
While volunteers were essential, those who could bring both money and expertise were crucial to the youth movement's survival. The first Lord Selborne began his relationship with St Andrew's Club in 1882 while serving under the Prime Minister William Gladstone, offering his time and knowledge to the club despite his responsibilities as Lord Chancellor.
Sounds rather a sort of old-fashioned concept, doing your bit, but it was absolutely clear. He felt it was an absolutely essential responsibility.
The club's in-house publication reveals the surprising opportunities offered to members. In the 19th century, the British Empire was a route many took. At that time, emigration gave members chances to expand their horizons and seize opportunities. Members often travelled the four corners of the world. Private W. Jupe went as far afield as India. When stationed in Lucknow in 1895, he used the Chronicle to track down 3 other members also serving there in the British Army. After returning from what was Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, Arthur Schultz burst through the club door in 1884, declaring "another medal for home," proudly gifting it to the club. While in England, many working boys went on to have successful careers in professions like banking, newspapers, and the Royal Mint. The success of the youth movement met its first major setback as a generation fell in the First World War. But another blow was to come. As London was decimated by the Blitz, so too were many of the boys and girls clubs founded before the war. Following the struggles and austerity in the 1950s, the following decade saw genuine investment in youth clubs across the country. After the recommendations of the Albemarle Report in 1960, £28 million was spent in the following 8 years on 3,000 building projects, and the Modern Youth Club was born.
For the London Federation of Boys Clubs, it was the biggest night of the year. At Wapping, the Duke of Edinburgh popped in to explain the 5-year plan to open 20 more clubs in the London area. The sooner the new clubs are built, the better.
As women's role in society changed, girls also became more and more prominent in clubs, as we saw the advent of what was to become Britain's modern youth services, providing more and more young people with vital skills they would use later in life.
Offered many things that sort of inspired you and challenged you. I mean, once people came in, you did what you wanted to do, but then the club would look to push you in other directions to see if you liked them. I'd never been camping. I'd never been to the theatre. They took us to the West End, and the great actor Sir John Neville had us round the back afterwards talking about what the theatre was like, what would you like, would any of you like to do it, etc., etc. I joined a debating contest, things like this that I wouldn't have dreamt of as a kid from a Pimlico street.
With the recession of the 1970s and state involvement waning by the 80s, in the next decade the youth sector faced further cutbacks. However, with these challenges, clubs adapted to ensure their survival.
What is needed above all is a lot of enthusiastic helpers. You can't run football teams, you can't run other activities without qualified helpers. Goodness, we've been lucky with the staff we've had, the supporters, the trustees, the volunteers. One of their jobs is raising money, but first is people, second is money.
Well, I think because of the ethos of this place, the building and the staff that work here, everyone is really a team. It is a place that they can just leave all their worries that are going on out in the world and come in here and just be themselves. And I think that's very important for a young person, to be themselves.
As a young person, I always went to the local youth club, and we had a few local youth clubs I used to go to throughout different periods of my life. So I understand the difference they can make to young people and how important they are to have somewhere to go that's social and relaxed but also safe.
And I wanted to do football coaching. They arranged me to do an FA Level 1 course, which I now possess and now have. And they set me up with my own team, and I think they've helped shape me with is that sort of level of responsibility and trust. Because I'm going to university now. I'm doing law. I'd like to be a corporate lawyer, but at the moment, as I said, I'm just studying. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of reading and a lot of hours.
As the country's youth clubs celebrate a milestone in their history, their future can't be taken for granted.
I think there's an army of people that are still out there willing to put themselves out, volunteer to help the club achieve what it needs to achieve with its young people. So they're a great resource, and they're as valuable to the club as the people who put the money in.
There's one thing which goes right through my time at Stanley, which is a highlight, which is the companionship and friendship, the sense that you belong to something that had been there a long time. Facilities don't make a youth club, it's the spirit that makes youth club.
I would say it's like a family, a home atmosphere. People feel comfortable. The club is more about you arrive and you may do your activity, but you feel that you stay after and you arrive before, you participate in other things, you socialise there, you have friendships that are forged there. So it's very much a homely, friendly environment.
It has to be an avenue or an opportunity, and St Andrews gave me that opportunity. They gave me that avenue. If there isn't the avenue, if no one can see the light at the end of the tunnel of what they can do, what can they achieve, then you get people doing things they shouldn't do.